explore the leadership journey to create a new India. We have a very special panel today comprising the Honorable Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas and also the Minister of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. It's my pleasure to welcome Dharmendra Pradhan ji.
Thank you, Utkarsh.
I'm joined by the Honorable Secretary Ramesh Abhishek, who's the Secretary of Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. And we're joined by a very diverse audience from around the world. But here we have social entrepreneurs, tech pioneers, global shapers, young global leaders from different parts of the world who've come here to understand the leadership journey of these two distinguished people. My name is Utkarsh Amitabh. I'll be facilitating this conversation. So, sir, let's get started with you. What was India like when you were 18? To give you some background, somebody told me that there was something called a lightning call, which took about 30 minutes to make and costed 8 times as much as that. Now, I wasn't born then, but probably you were.
Because it was unimaginable for all of you. You rightly begin your interaction with the mentioning lightning call. In those days, 18 years, when I was 18 years, that means it is 1987. In those days, one of our great legendary cricket player, Kapil Dev, won the World Cup. One hand in his hand, World Cup, the symbol of youth resurgence was the photo of Kapil Dev. In those days, if somebody is having one black and white TV, the entire locality, entire community supposed to come to his house or her house to watch evening serials. You mentioned about lightning call. In those days, the ISD came out. The international call came out. In those days, today, Globe is a small village after 30 years. In those days in India, few people are staying outside India. Few. We can count them in numbers. If somebody of their relative were at the ISD center and talking to the relative somewhere in the different part of world, he will come in the mid of the night, because in those days the tariff was lowest among the daytime in comparison to evening time. And he will talk to his relative or relatives so loudly, the entire locality will be awake in the mid of the night. He is talking making a call to America, making a call to Singapore. If in those days somebody of our state, of our district, of our locality travel in an aeroplane, he will keep the boarding pass for 2 years. I have traveled in the airlines. That was the scenario. That was the just exactly before globalization, before open up, before liberalization. The footstep of liberalization, how the world will be. In those days we are in the campus, we are also divided. If globalization will come up, India suffered colonialism for 200 years. In the campus days, that fear was also there. Are you going to face another long era of colonialism due to liberalization? This kind of new socio-economic concerns were there when I was 18. And you people cannot imagine how society, if you'll ask this question to Ramesh Abhishek ji, he will tell you another narrative, where I will also be frightened. So things have changed.
That's a very interesting response, sir. Actually, that brings me to my next question for you, sir. Has the India of today, based on the vignette painted by the Honorable Minister, has the India of today surpassed your expectations, met your expectations, or not met your expectations, calibrating against the India of your growing up days when you were 18?
See, during that time, I don't think anyone in the world could have visualized the kind of changes that is going to happen. The way technology is taking us to new levels, and there is leapfrogging at every stage. It was absolutely impossible. So I think this till late 1990s, There was a long queue for getting a telephone line at your home, for getting a LPG gas connection. You had to approach the members of parliament so that they had some quota of recommendations. But there is a time now. Very few people have landlines today, but everybody has a mobile phone. So the way technology has changed lives. Now when you talk about windows, nobody thinks of these windows. You talk about doors, they think of some other doors. So I think life has completely got transformed. So it was impossible to visualize the kind of changes that are going to happen, but those changes have happened.
So the incredible India narrative. So clearly, I mean, in a nutshell, if I understand, it has grossly exceeded your expectations.
Absolutely.
Utkarsh, if I add on one thing, how it is today, has it come up to the expectation or beyond that? In those days, one of the greatest narrative was brain drain. Lot of IIT, lot of good students of India were going out of country for their earning, for their better livelihood, for their aspiration. Today, when the globe is a small village, now the brain gain is there.
Right.
So the entire paradigm shift is there. Today, wherever you may stay, if you are a Indian, you can contribute from each and every part of the world, and India is amply benefited out of this changing world, and Utkarsh is one of the great examples.
You're very kind, sir. But we are deeply inspired by you, and I want to change the narrative, because now everyone may get a sense of what India was and what India is and what India is becoming. Now, sir, let's shift gears to understanding your motivation to join public life. When you were 18, did you know that you wanted to join public life? And how much of your career was planned and how much was it serendipity?
When I was 15, I joined social activism, which is, you can call it one apprenticeship of politics.
Right.
When I when I passed my higher secondary, the 10th class, I joined higher secondary. I became a activist of my the school of thought I belonged to. I joined a movement. So not 18, I started my public career in age of 50.
Wow. So what was the motivation like?
Since my childhood, I was inspired with one thing. This country has immense potential. If we got chance, if we can create an ambience, if we can jot down a big master plan, we can create a big thing. We have to have, as a student in high school days, I'm a student of sociology, I'm a student of anthropology. When I study my preliminary days, one thing came to my mind. For a long period of aligned rule in our country, the country could not come out with a self-driven country. It's a self-dependent country. What is the primary cause? Because we have to create a national character, we have to create a national momentum. You may agree, you may disagree, but there must be a national mission, there must be a national motto. Then only you can create a big picture, then only you can create a big ambition for a nation, for a country. It's applicable for an individual, it's applicable for a locality, it's applicable for a provincial state, it's applicable for a nation. In India, I think this kind of motivation needed, and somehow in the early days this idea came to my mind. I must work, yes, if I think about myself, I may enjoy a comfortable life, but if I think about a bigger picture, think about community, two things can be achieved. My life will be comfortable, so my community life will also be comfortable. So my purpose of living, my purpose of journey is not for me, it's for community, it's for society. That creates a mindset change within me that motivates me to join social life.
I really like the answer, focusing on the raison d'être, as the French would call it, or looking at the core calling. Now, so coming to you, I mean, today people have, say the youth have a diverse set of choices to make. but I'm given to understand that that was not always the case. So how did you decide to take up, build a career in bureaucracy, and was it planned, was it serendipitous?
It was definitely not planned. I was undergrad student of physics, chemistry, and maths. And during those days, either you could become a doctor or engineer, or maybe join academics. So there were not too many choices. So those options were ruled out for me. Academics was one of the choices. But then studying in Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi, I was also a student of international relations at the master's level. And I found that a lot of people were, writing the civil service exam. So that actually attracted me towards that. But frankly speaking, when I wrote the exam, I didn't bargain for what all is going to happen in the next 37 years. And it has been a surprise. I don't know, I can't claim that the public service spirit attracted me and fascinated me, but subsequently it did. Because once you are there in this job, the power to make the huge difference to the lives of people, it has been a momentous experience. And it's an experience that one would like to have again and again in every life.
It's a very interesting answer. For the international audience, Mr. Abhishek is part of the Indian Administrative Services, and it's a really competitive exam. And it's one of the hardest exams to crack and goes through the entire process. Now, sir, mentors play a very important role in shaping a career. Who are your mentors, and how have they guided your thought process?
In my initial days, I read a lot about Swami Vivekananda. The teaching of Vivekananda, being a youth of India, teaching of Vivekananda influenced me immensely. The issue I raise, purpose of living. Why should we live? Should we live this life is for ourselves or for this community, for society? Vivekananda has dealt this issue very elaborately, and I am impressed with Swami Vivekananda's thought that shaped my mindset, that shaped my social thoughts.
It's very interesting. How about you, sir? Who have your mentors been?
I would say that for me, the greatest mentoring experience was my studying in JNU.
I see.
Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi had a great culture at that time. Now things are a bit different, it seems, of being a very open place, open to ideas. It was mostly left of the center. Great respect for gender, for different views, diversity. You had people from all over the country. And I think that was a great experience. I had friends from all the walks of life. I had friends from the northeastern part of the country, absolutely amazing people. So that kind of interaction, it was like a mini India.
Right.
So there actually, because of the ideological debates that we used to have, there used to be debates in hostels after 9:30 dinner till 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Debates of Lenin and Trotsky used to be discussed till morning. And there used to be all kind of people who hated both of them. So we had a very vibrant culture of discussion and disagreement. And it was a very healthy culture. I think being there and great respect for gender, I think that was also a very important part of JNU. So that really made you much more conscious of it made you a much better person and a much more balanced, you had much more balanced views in life.
What I really like about this answer is that he's touched upon institution as an experience as a mentor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd like you to think that from 9:30 to 4:30, sitting across the table and debating Lenin and Trotsky and whatnot. Today, that debate might happen on an online platform or something else.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's a lot of merit for having a dialogue across the table,
Yeah.
and active disagreement shape.
It was in the dining hall of the hostel.
I see.
So it was not so actually structured, So you just turned around the chairs and tables and you sat.
Right. Yeah. So your portfolio is diverse. Skilling and entrepreneurship is something that India is also now coming to be known internationally. Like many of our friends here from Europe and the US were asking me questions about how's India looking at artificial intelligence and many other things. But sir, since we're focusing on you, I want to understand how you reskill yourself, because you're in charge of such diverse portfolios. How do you learn? How do you unlearn? And how do you grasp knowledge which is being generated?
Utkarsh, I'm 48 now, since my school days, I learn every day. I upskill myself every day. I learn the thing not to be practiced in my life every day. Education give you an idea, give you a knowledge. If you feel you are enough, you are full, you are skilled, then your growth is stopped. So being a social activist, we have to, being a successful human being, successful man, you have to learn every day. And as you said, my job is multidimensional. I never studied science, I never studied economics, I am weak in mathematics, but now I am looking after one of the major infrastructure department in India, the energy sector. So I have to, what I could not do in my student days, I could not study economics my student days, I have to study economics now.
Right.
How the revenue collection, how the spending, how the international finance, all this working in energy sector. I have to learn, I have to study, I have to understand. There is no shortcut to learning, there is no shortcut to upskilling. Every day from everywhere, just now I came to know how do you, Utkarsh, as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur, how you are linking your startup company to outreaching to create qualitative manpower, quality manpower to the corporate world. This is a learning for me. Now I am thinking, how can I replicate this formula, this startup, this business idea to the greater benefit of society? Every day we have to have with open mind, we have to interact, we have to learn, and rightly you have mentioned also how do you do earn, which is not creating any value, creating bad blood. We have to forget, we have to unlearn those things. That's a natural practice. We have to learn, we have to adapt.
Yeah. So I have a background in anthropology and now handles such complex science-based portfolios. And he's 48 and he's still learning and unlearning. It's a great message for every single person in this room and listening to it. As we embrace the fourth industrial revolution, we'll have to disrupt ourselves many times. And I think the example presented just gives us clarity towards that. Sir, your master's was international relations, and then you went on to Harvard, got an MBA. But even IAS officers in India, their portfolio changes very quickly.
Very.
Very, very quickly. So how do you grasp things? How do you learn? How do you keep yourself updated? And how's the experience been so far?
Now, from promoting startups, trying to improve ease of doing business in the country, and so on, as of now. In my last job, I was regulating the commodity futures market in India. Before that, I was improving the administration of judiciary in this country. Before that, I worked for the peacekeeping mission in Kosovo, and earlier administering districts in Bihar, millions of people. See, the basic, I think more important than knowing about your job, that is the next, is your attitude.
Right.
If you have this commitment to public service, if you want to really do something, justice to your job, make a difference to the lives of the people, that is much more important. Because once you want to do that, you have to learn your job well. And it's not that you just learn yourself, skill yourself. You also have to consult people, you have to talk to people. It's not just one person who does the job. Today we want to improve the startup ecosystem in India. We work with hundreds of people. Because I don't know everything. I will never know. I don't need to know. We want to do, enabling environment, help the angel investors, or maybe regulatory environment for whatever, sharing technology. There are a whole lot of people who know the job. You just need to facilitate.
Yeah.
You just make sure the right policies are done. But I have done my bit in skilling. You mentioned about the masters in Kennedy School. I also got a master's in business administration in finance.
Oh, really?
When I was doing my regulation of future market. So just to know the subject better. But then I think more important than is the commitment that you will work with everybody and work together and deliver the goods.
I love this multi-stakeholder approach to learning. So I want to quiz you a little now on failures, because failures are also great mentors and they teach us. So what failure or apparent failure set you up for success?
Utkarsh, my biggest success story is inspired with a big failure. If I cite one example, I was a provincial legislature in 2000.